This department's manned by 175 of the most committed, dedicated volunteer firemen and medical first responders you'll find anywhere in this state. Last year, they responded to almost 2,300 calls for service. They completed over 8,000 training hours, installed over 500 smoke detectors at no charge to our citizens, installed over 600 911 house numbers, and hosted the 6th annual Firefighters Freedom Festival, July 4th, out at the airport with an attendance of about 15,000 people. And one note on that, and that is a gift to the community that doesn't cost our taxpayers any money. They get sponsors, all volunteers put it on, and it is a real event. If you haven't been there, it's worth going. So I always say, if you see a Madison County fireman or first responder out and about on a call, they left their work, their families, their home, their church to serve our community without any pay. Their dedication and commitment to our community continues to amaze me every day, and we appreciate them very much. And I want to thank Chief Eric Turner for the culture he continues on through the last, I believe our fire department's about 60-something years old. And without Chief Turner and Kim and the leadership that he has, we wouldn't have what we have today and the commitment from those firefighters. Talk a little about our industry here. We've got a really strong, solid base of industry in our community. The final numbers for last year as far as jobs are not totally available, but there are two expansions I'd like to just mention. One is Toyota Boshiku, who's been here since 2002. They announced a building expansion of 145,000 square feet and the addition of 130 new jobs. We also have a new industry that's here. Lighting Source is a part of the Ingram Content Group out of Laverne, Tennessee. They're going to invest $22 million to establish its 5th U.S. facility and create 150 new jobs over the next 3 years. Last month, Team Madison County, which is the city, the county, and the chamber, and JEA always has a representative there. We made a trip to Japan to visit some of our Japanese industries, corporate offices. We have 7 Japanese industry in our community. We visited Denso, Toyota Boshiku, Toyota Motor Company, Toyota Suit Show, and the Tennessee Economic Development Office in Tokyo. I can't say enough about the goodwill that goes along with those visits. It is worth the time and expense to make these visits. These industry, Toyota, we met with them 4 years ago when we went over there. I don't know what changed. I don't know that Kyle knows what changed, or Mandy. But this year, Toyota, let me back up and tell you, Tokyo was where we started, 2-hour bullet train trip over to Nagoya. And Toyota is located in, where else? Toyota City, which is about an hour out of Boshiku, or Nagoya, I'm sorry. But they sent a van over to pick us up with a driver and two people. One of those was a Canadian guy who worked for Toyota for about 30 years. They brought us over to Toyota City. We toured 2 plants. We had a very nice, cordial meeting with them. They furnished us lunch. They took us back to the hotel. We spent about 4 hours with them, and it was a really good experience. We feel like that we planted the seed of a community welcoming industries and expansion of industries like theirs. One caveat, and that is that in Toyota City, Toyota employs 44,000 people in that city. I mean, there's buildings and plants everywhere. But anyway, I think the chamber is right. It's the relationships we build that help plant the seed for future growth and development. And it's been a very worthwhile effort to make that trip. One that I forgot to mention, and that is Pacific Industries, which is one of our newest industries. We met with them. They took us out to a traditional Japanese restaurant for about a 3-hour meal one night. It was a Fast and Furious trip, but it was well worth the time and effort. So, to just kind of close up, because I know Scott's got a lot he wants to say, I did want to clarify one thing that Jim Carroll said. And we were talking about who's going to go first, and I said it doesn't matter to me, ask Scott. And so instead of Scott saying, you know, that since he's been here before, let me go first or whatever, he said, I think it ought to be age before beauty. So. The jury's still out on the mayor we got here, you know? We're both in the same Rotary Club, and sometime just shortly after the election, he gets a hold of the microphone and he makes some, I don't know, elaborate response, calls me up, and he gives me a pair of socks with my face planted all over these socks. So, anyway, we are enjoying a good working relationship, look forward to a long time, because the one thing about it is we both represent the same people, and our interest should be the same. And when the city succeeds, we succeed, and vice versa as far as the county. So to close, I want to say I think the state of our county is good. Our sales tax, fiscal year over fiscal year, was up about 3.5% this year. Our hotel motel tax continues to grow. Our unemployment rate presently is 3.4% as opposed to 4% this time last year. And our business and industry base, I think, is very healthy and continues to grow. And I'll say again this year, as I said last year, I think the two biggest challenges we have in this community is a continued improvement in our schools and school system and school outcomes, and a continued workforce development effort. I know of you that are in business or in industry, some of our business and industry struggle to keep enough qualified employees, and it's a struggle. But I also want to say to a lot of you here, thank you for your cards and letters and calls and words of encouragement when I went through my issue a few months ago. It did mean a lot. I will now be sending out more cards and calls when folks are sick, because I know what it means, and I want you to know that I appreciate it. And I also appreciate what all of y'all do in your contribution to making our community a better place to live and work. And I really appreciate you allowing me to serve as your county mayor. God bless America, and God bless Jackson, Madison County, Tennessee. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Oh my goodness, how do you wake up? So Mayor Harris can tell you the whole story about the socks. So let me just complete the story. Not only did I give him a pair of socks with his face on it, but I also had a pair of socks with Mayor Harris's face on them that I like to wear just to show my love for Mayor Harris. There we go. So I'd like to thank, first off, JDDC for hosting this event, having us here today, and the First Methodist Church for having a fantastic lunch. So I was getting ready, I thought about, man, it's been 6 months. 6 months since July 1, and I remember that morning fairly vividly. I spent 12 whole days prior to that transitioning from one job to another. From one job to a job where I'd been interviewing for that job for the past year, where my daily responsibility would be working to make our community even better, and a job where I have 67, 68,000 of the best bosses that you can have. A job being your mayor. And so going back to July 1, I immediately thought of my grandfather, who 52 years ago was getting ready for the same thing. And I stood there as I was getting ready, just in awe for a second, trying to think of how he felt. Probably a little similar to the way I felt. The excitement, the nervousness in the middle of it for me trying to get 2 kids ready to go to a swearing in for something they really could care less about. They didn't know what it was. I'm sure he had some of those same challenges. I know my grandmother remembers that very well and all the challenges that come along with the service of this job. And so I want to take this opportunity right now to recognize the former First Lady, now First Grandmother of the City of Jackson, Virginia Conger. I asked her when she came in, she had all black on, so what is this, my funeral today? I'm so glad to have her here today. And so after those 12 whole days of transition, I knew that we were ready. And as Nikki and I were hurrying to get ready, to get each other ready, to get the kids ready, to try to rush a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. For those of you who have kids, you know that's just not even possible. Because you got to get the doll, you got to get the shoes, you got to do the hair, all that stuff. So I get this text from Alex Reed. Those of y'all know Alex says, "Hey, look, take your time. Don't worry about the swearing-in thing. I've got this here at City Hall." So I said, "Nikki, we got to go. We got to go." Nikki was here earlier. She left. We have been passing around sinus infections and crud at our house. I had it all last week, and so now she had it, and I didn't want her passing out while I was talking, so I asked her to go ahead and go and get home because she wasn't feeling well. So I can tell you right now, I wouldn't be standing up here today if it wasn't for her. So she's by my side every single day, and I appreciate all that she means to me and our family. Now, I knew this day was coming. Felt it for the past year. I'd seen it for the past year, talking with citizens in the community, in their homes, at community events about the 3 tenets of the campaign. If you've heard me talk, you know transparency, efficiency, and inclusion. Reading texts and Facebook messages, I knew that as Jackson, we were ready for a change in leadership to take our city forward. I found out after the election that some people said I was an underdog. No one ever told me that during the election. So, as many of you saw my campaign as a campaign that would change the way that we're doing business in Jackson, and you were right. Because we're going to have Jackson, it's going to have a government that's going to work for all the people. Inclusion is the key. Whether it's the citizens on our newly formed Commission on Aging, which, being the grandmother of the mayor, you get voluntold jobs, so thank you again, grandmother, for being on that commission as well. You're looking at locations doing research for a new senior center and how we can be more age-friendly in our city. Or those on the anti-poverty task force who are working towards solutions for those most vulnerable in our city. Then you have transparency. Whether it's simply replying to a social media message, to a Facebook message, to a phone call, or working to get information onto our website and getting a new website. And with the help of the Jackson Sun, thank you, from the first day we knew that transparency was going to be a big issue and was desired in our community. And so whether it's good or bad, you all the citizens need to know what's going on in our city and in our government. Then efficiency is the third thing. So many antiquated systems and processes in our government that needed changing, and there still are quite a few antiquated systems and processes that need changing still. Now look at the latest example of the week before Christmas was our leaf pickup. I hear the phones ring in our office and hear Cecile and Samantha talking to people about leaves. They're asking about their leaf pickup, what was it going to be, the week before Christmas. And so my first thought was, man, somebody needs to get those leaves picked up. I realized, wait a second, I'm that somebody, right? And so I thought, how do we do this? So we're sitting there, we had 300 yards, used a great and talented young person named CJ, who's a senior at Sacred Heart, got a list, got great volunteers from our city employees, and we took out the Saturday before Christmas and worked and got a ton of leaves picked up and then worked to get that list done by the end of the following week. And so the thought is that if you're paying for a service, that it's my job to make sure the expectation of that service is met. And so we're looking at ways to publish our maps where our different trucks will be so we can be efficient and transparent in our process. I do want to take an opportunity to thank Kathleen Honeycutt. I did see her. She had black on too. I guess she's at my funeral as well. But she has worked hard through this transition, through this change to enhance those processes. And I just want to express my appreciation. Where is she at? I just saw her back there. There you go. For all of you know. In the city of Jackson, we have some of the most talented and hardworking people working here. And I'd like to recognize them now. So if you are an employee of the city of Jackson, I'd like you to please stand so you can be recognized. You can stand up, yeah. Any success success that we've had these last 6 months are all in part to these people that are here today, these men and women who give every single day to serve you in the city. You know, for those Jacksonians who want a better future for their community, for those Jacksonians who are leading the way in the renaissance that we're seeing in our great city, I'm proud and I'm eager to say to you that today the state of our city is getting stronger. Today in Jackson, I'm proud to report that 2019 has been very active and productive for our police department. Overall, in 2019, we had a 7.7% reduction in total crimes offenses compared to 2018. This is a significant accomplishment that positively affects our quality of life. And we had an unusually unfortunate year with the number of people who lost their lives to senseless violence, and I assure you that we are working as a city and as a police department to reduce that for the coming year. One of those things is community relations. And so our top priority at the Jackson Police Department is to partner with groups, with churches to improve relations in our community. And so in the fall, Chief Weiser hired Yolanda Aguirre, I hope I said that right, Chief, as our community outreach coordinator to help further this effort. She quickly began to build bridges and avenues of communication between law enforcement and underserved and underrepresented in our community. Financially, 2019, the police department made several internal budget cuts to the tune of about $250,000 in an effort to reduce our budget and control costs. Those cuts were strictly administration and don't affect officers on the streets at all. So under the leadership of Chief Weiser and his command staff, financial responsibility is key and is a top priority, only second to providing public safety. And just a reminder, this month is Law Enforcement Appreciation Month. We have a fantastic Blue Strong community. I saw several of them around. And so they do an amazing job making sure our law enforcement is appreciated. So be sure to get your blue lights and blue ribbons and make sure you show our law enforcement how much they are appreciated. Our fire department's had a busy year as well. You all may remember July 1, when I took office, we had an interim fire chief. He seemed pretty set on being an interim fire chief, but you know, persistence pays off. And you just say, hey, wait till this month. Hey, wait till this month. And I think I finally just warmed down and said, you know what, okay, you can take the interim tag off. So it doesn't, you don't have to be a mayor to know how qualified and how much of an asset that Chief Samuels is to our fire department and our community. So I'm claiming that victory that he's removed the interim tag and is now our fire chief. The fire department unveiled its newly wrapped and refurbished public education fire truck and life safety gaming trailer at this year's Christmas parade. If you haven't seen that truck and trailer, I mean, it's amazing. It uses gaming to help save lives and kids and families and for the threat of hazardous situations. Our fire department is not just an asset to the citizens of Jackson, but it's an incredible resource for West Tennessee. The fire department training division has provided classes for surrounding agencies and organizations. To a total of 9,646 hours have been spent teaching 715 students, to include Kellogg Fire Brigade, Union University, Southside High School, Bolivar, Gadsden, Alamo Fire Departments. So they do all this in addition to saving lives every day. Our planning department data shows that continued residential growth in Jackson. They reviewed and approved a total of 87 separate subdivision plats in the area. They also helped me prepare an ordinance and pass an ordinance to address our vacant commercial properties in the city of Jackson. Our Recreation and Parks Department, man, they never stop. I don't know how to do it. They had an excellent job at our International Food and Arts Festival, and they followed that up 2 months later with a fantastic Christmas parade. I also want to mention the work they do with Special Olympics. So they conducted 7 Special Olympics events with an average of participation of 350 people with special needs. I can't say enough how proud I am for this team effort. We have an excellent sportsplex out there under the leadership of Jason Compton. The sportsplex hosted 898 teams, which was up 129 teams from 2018, which is the highest it's been since 2015. And Jason hadn't even been there a year yet, so wait till he's there a full year. One department that we have that doesn't get a lot of public notice that I want to recognize is our risk management department. In the past year, through training and other safety programs, they've reduced on-the-job injury claims by 39%. And they've recovered nearly $250,000 through negotiating with insurance recovery to offset the overall cost of damages in our city. Engineering department been killing it as well. They completed their annual street resurfacing for the last fiscal year with an additional $2.5 million to resurface portions of 18 streets. We're committed to a long-term resurfacing plan. And so over the next 4 years, you're going to see us repave 100% of our priority 1 and 2 streets starting in mid-spring. Right now, we've got our asphalt plants closed up, so when they open back up, they're going to hit it hard. Human Resources, Ms. Lynn Henning, is probably one of my favorite people in City Hall, by the way. Hired 55 full-time employees while processing out 63 full-time employees. The department's been committed and open since day one to finding more efficient ways to operate through technology. We signed a contract this last month to officially begin our new website construction. This will be a powerful tool. You're going to be able to get online, report issues, non-emergent issues. You're going to be able to geotag it, be able to track it. It's also going to help me track the progress of how we're providing those services. Farmers Market, award-winning West Tennessee Farmers Market, Jackson Fairgrounds, the Civic Center, the Omen Arena, they all continue to be positive anchors for our city and great venues for many activities and events. I love this opportunity to get to brag on Jackson, and especially the opportunities we have to come. One of the biggest reasons is my partnership with the City Council. I want to recognize those. I saw Paul here. If you're a City Council member, raise your hand, stand up. Yeah, all one of you. They work hard, and I love the support they give me. Together we've been able to work on establishing a budget committee. Budget committee is going to look not just in this fiscal year, next fiscal year, but long down the road. And then, I've already mentioned my great relationship with the face of my socks, Mayor Jimmy Harris. And we're both committed to working in collaboration for the good of Jackson and Madison County. It's all good news, all great things going on in Jackson, but we do have some challenges. And I assure you, every day we're working to tackle those challenges. We're going to be more effective, we're going to be more efficient in our core services, we're going to provide those services for the great things happening to make Jackson continue to grow. We're putting different eyes on some of the same problems that we've had. So if you've listened again at all in the last year and a half, you know transparency, efficiency, inclusivity. So I want to share some of the goals that we have for 2020. That way you all can be a part of what's going on in your city government. Through our blight elimination plan, we're going to demolish 20 or more houses, residential dilapidated properties. We're going to have better asset accountability. What does that mean? We're going to maintain a high level of maintenance and supervision on our heavy equipment and our city vehicles. In 2020, we're launching cutting-edge software called Missions. Missions is a patrol management software used for crime forecasting and patrol resource usage and planning. Missions is data-driven and comes from our report management system. I got to see a demo of that. It's going to be amazing. We're also working in February to launch through JPD and our collaborative effort, a focused deterrence initiative, which began to reduce our recidivism in the city of Jackson. Then we're going to update technology and software everywhere in the city of Jackson. We're going to grow our internal safety committee and to continue to reduce OJIs and accidents to create a more proactive and preventable mentality in the workplace. We got a bunch of vacant lots. We're going to sell those. We're going to reduce our property maintenance costs and get those back on the tax rolls and get those developed. We're working towards publishing a citizens legible budget, and then Stan Stewart, who always sits up front when I speak for some reason, taking serious steps for curbside recycling. So I stand here today with optimism. Same optimism that I had 6 months ago, some days feels like 6 years ago, but same optimism that I felt in 2011 when I was sworn to serve on the city council. Probably the same optimism that my grandfather felt 52 years ago. That optimism tells us, our cause is just, our path is true. We can do this in the city of Jackson, but we have to do it together. We got to help our neighbors. We got to volunteer. We got to be involved with local nonprofits. Have to be engaged with local government. Call in 311. Report your trash piles. Report your brush piles. If you see the pothole, call in and report it. Let us know about those things. One time. Don't call in like 5 times about it. So. Attend your city council meetings. Attend committee meetings. Attend the anti-poverty task force meeting. Don't just sit around waiting for someone to do something because you are that someone. Together, we can ensure that Jackson's best days are ahead of us. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Matt from Jackson Downtown Development. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got just a few minutes. If there are any questions, I'd love to, if the mayors are amenable to that, we'd love to give the audience a chance to ask some questions. Yes, ma'am.
Can we hear more about curbside recycling?
I think it's a question from Harris, right? We're going to work toward it. If I knew what it meant, I'd say we're doing it this way. We're working toward it.
And I also have some jokes I can tell.
Somebody asked a question.
Sammy West has a question.
I was just saying somebody needs to ask a question.
Thank you, Sammy.
Joke.
Yes, we make it. Well, seeing none, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Happy New Year to each of you, and we will see you in March for the next First Friday Forum.